call the public hearing to order for the Hammond City Council on September 17, 2013. Roll call, please.
Johnny Blunt.
Here.
Jason Hood.
Here.
Bobby Martin.
Here.
Lamar Marshall.
Here.
Mike Williams.
Here.
Okay, first item on the public hearing is number 1, an ordinance for the council to declare surplus items below to be sold on govdeals.com. There is a list of vehicles attached on the agenda for anybody that may have questions about this. There's some agendas in the back on the side of the wall. Mr. Peters, good afternoon. How are you, sir?
Good afternoon.
Do we have any council questions about this item? Any public questions and comments? And that is more than just vehicles, there's a couple of tractors and such too. Okay, if we don't have any questions about that, we're going to move right on to number 2, an ordinance authorizing the issuance of not exceeding $5 million of sewer revenue bonds, Series 2013 of the City of Hammond, State of Louisiana, and providing for other matters in connection therewith. Mr. Grant Schluter, please.
Thank you. Grant Schluter with Foley-Dell Bond Counsel. This is the actual adoption, will be the adoption of the ordinance tonight, selling the $5 million of sewer revenue bonds to DEQ at the 0.95% interest rate. And this will constitute the final action and the final sale to DEQ.
Are there any questions from Mr. Grant? Any public questions or comments on this item?
Grant, could you just very briefly indicate, we were looking at a timetable there. Could you just very briefly tell the council the timetable?
Absolutely. After the action tonight, we do have pending the State Bond Commission application, and that will be heard Thursday morning. After that approval, we can then, with the concurrence of DEQ and their council, schedule the bond closing, at which time funds will be available for the first drawdown on the loan when we close the bond issue. DEQ council had requested that it be early November, the bond closing. They will consider moving it up a little bit if we can demonstrate to them that we do need to do that. I would assume if it will facilitate the project and proceeding with the construction, that they would entertain some moving up of that closing date.
Thank you, Mr. Grant. All right, if there are no questions or comments on that item, we're going to move right into our regular scheduled meeting for September 17, 2013. Roll call, please.
Johnny Blunt.
Here.
Jason Hood.
Here.
Bobby Martin.
Here.
Lamar Marshall.
Here.
Mike Williams.
Here.
Mr. Vick, would you ask a prayer, please?
Sure.
I invite you to join with me for a moment as we bow our heads and turn our attention to Almighty Creator, God, the author of our life. Oh God, we invite you into our presence tonight as once again the City Council and the Mayor and other persons who have dedicated their time and their talents to make our community a better place come together to deliberate issues of importance to those who live in this good city of Hammond. We thank you for Hammond, for the people who live here. We have many good and giving souls who care about their fellow man. We ask that you continue to bless their efforts. We ask that you bless this council and our other elected officials, give them wisdom to make decisions that will enhance our already great little community. We pray for all these things as we seek to make Hammond a better place for all. At the same time, I invite all of you to pause for just a moment and consider the families, loved ones, and friends of those so mercilessly killed in our nation's capital in the last couple of days. We ask that you grant them consolation and peace during this time of trial. God, we know that this is not a perfect world, but we also know that if we turn our attention to you, that if we pray for your grace, you will reward us with graces of many kinds beyond even our expectations. We thank you for this nation of ours. We ask that you give our leaders the wisdom to make decisions We thank you for the men and women who defend our freedoms and ask that you bring them all home safely. We pray for all these things in the name of the one who saves us. Amen.
Amen. Mr. Trosclair in the back, I hate to put you on the spot. Would you lead us in the pledge, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, do we have any council reports?
I have a report, Mr. President.
Yes, sir.
I just wanted to take a few minutes and recognize a business in Hammond. I, like many of us, I think we may have received an email regarding Hawley and Smith Architects. And I was just really impressed with the email that we received, and I thought that it would make sense for us to invite the company out to maybe talk a little bit about what they do. And I think what's significant to me is, Hawley and Smith has been in business for over 33 years. They're based in Hammond, and they also have a significant presence in New Orleans, which to me is, I've always thought that was unique for us, because typically we don't have businesses in Hammond that have a large presence in one of our largest cities in our state. And that obviously means that we keep those jobs in Hammond. Those jobs are not in New Orleans, not in Baton Rouge, and those are middle-class jobs. Those are jobs that are good jobs, good paying jobs that will have those people living in our city, shopping in our stores, and bringing tax dollars to the city of Hammond. So I just thought it would be good for us to recognize them for their recent awards, and I think Mike Hawley's here tonight to maybe speak on behalf of his organization.
Thank you, Councilman. We really are a little surprised that we were up here speaking to you today, and we're happy to do it. And yes, we do have a presence in New Orleans, and we do have a presence in Baton Rouge, although not a physical presence. But we do a lot of work in both of those cities. And uniquely enough, Hammond puts us in a position, just by geographics alone, to serve both of those communities. And we've been involved in them quite heavily over the last 30 years. So we're very proud to be here. We like to think of Hammond as our home, and we have a total of 22 people that work for us today. It's been larger and it's been smaller, but of those, 12 are architects and one's an interior designer. So we're very humbled to be before you today and to be recognized. Yes, we recently received some awards, but the ones we sent the email out on were only 3 of 7 that we received in the last year. And those are recognitions from various entities for the work that we've done, much of which is outside this area, some of which is inside this area. So we really thank you. We have some of our folks here who are working in our Hammond office. Jeffrey couldn't be here, Jeffrey Smith. He's on his way back from New Orleans right now, and he's running late, so he sends his regrets. Maybe he'll show up by the time I finish. But in any event, did you want to run through this real quick? Yeah. We've been, this is a project we did in New Orleans after Katrina. It's a 224-unit apartment complex for the elderly that we received regional recognition for. It's in New Orleans East. The next one is Southeastern Louisiana University Kinesiology Building got recognized recently for the work that we did out there. A very unique and challenging project that received a lot of accolades from the sustainability part of the design world. And then the next one is Amy Library, just recently finished. Very unique children's area in that building, having to do with what we call a stylized abstract cypress tree. And it's we were fortunate enough to do the drawings and get Entergy to build that piece for us, and it's really become a magnet for children. Next is Zachary High School Visual and Performing Arts Center, which we recently finished for the Zachary Community School District. That was an interior design award, but we're pretty proud of the whole thing. And then next is Cafe Z. We are actually involved in the Benson Tower. We did most of the Benson Tower interiors work, all 26 floors worth, and this was just a little piece of it. This was a grab-and-go little store for, which was called Cafe Z after Zelia LLC, which is owned by Tom Benson. And then the next one is the end.
I think you skipped the first one.
Those are just this year. I mean, we do a lot of work all over and get recognized, and we appreciate you recognizing us.
Well, it's the council.
Pardon me?
I think I submitted the request into President Hood, and he suggested that I handle it, but he was 100%
Okay, well, we
behind
thank
us.
you all for, again, because Hammond is our home, and we like it. It's the best, used to be the best-kept secret on the North Shore, and it's not that way anymore. And there's a lot of things that a lot of people say in a very positive way in Baton Rouge and New Orleans about us, because they visit here quite often and think highly of the community. And I always like to say to my Northeast Coast relatives that on a bad day, my commute is 90 seconds. So, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Mayor, do you have a report for us?
If I could, yes, sir. I want to make a couple of announcements. We are now officially a member of the Regional Planning Commission out of New Orleans. A vote was taken by all 7 parishes authorizing us to move into the RPC, and we went to our first official meeting this week, or last week, and we're proud to join that group. We're excited about some of the projects that are going to be coming out of the RPC for South Tangipahoa Parish. I had announced this last time. There's Hammond Youth is going to take a trip around the world this Saturday from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m., 12 noon at the Michael J. Kinney Center, and we invite all of our kids of any ages to go by the Michael J. Kinney Center. Lacey, would you mind coming up, please, to the podium? We are just so excited. You know, we're recognizing people, and I want to recognize Lacey for all of the hard work. I know the council sees her all the time, but I just wanted to say thank you so much for all your hard work on what we're doing.
Thank you.
We got a grant that was announced last week at Second Saturday Breakfast. You want to go ahead and talk about that?
We got a grant to start a playground in Lincoln Park neighborhood. It'll be our first park on the west side of town, so it's an exciting project. We just received a community build grant. It'll be just like what we did in Zemery, only we'll make it even better.
And it was for how much?
The grant itself is $20,000 from Kaboom, Dr. Pepper Snapple Group.
And we are required to match it with the same amount.
That's correct.
And we have the money in the budget, so.
That's correct.
What we're going to do, what we're going to do is our grounds department and our building department is going to start immediately clearing 2 acres of land in the neighborhood. And we have decided, and I think Councilman Marshall agrees with this, that we are going to make it a pedestrian-only park, because we don't want a whole lot of cars driving through that park and endangering our children. And I think we've already started working on some of those plans. And how are we going to go about doing this, please, Nancy?
It'll be an exciting adventure. We'll involve children in the design process like we did with Zemery. So we'll be working with the kids this fall. Towards the winter, we'll put it out for bid to our playground vendors, and then we'll look towards a community build project late March, early April.
And then we also, Vic Couvillon's very excited, I'm sure. We got another grant.
We have another grant for Keep Hammond Beautiful.
Thank you very much.
It's $7,500 that we just found out about this week, and that'll go towards our normal cleanup day supplies and trash cans in the parks and other elements like that.
And the last grant that we received, actually we've had it for a while, but we are looking for some homes to rehabilitate. We have up to $10,000 for rehab work. There are certain criteria that someone must meet. They have to be over the age of 62, meet certain income levels, but most importantly, they must own the home in their own right, fee simple. That's been sort of difficult to get people qualified, but we need to find some families. So if anybody knows a family, we need to know about them soon. So thank you, Lacey, for all your hard work.
Mayor, can I include something? You mentioned Keep Hammond Beautiful. I want the council to know that E.J. Forgotston has been chosen as the winner of the state Alice Foster Award for her dedication to keep Hammond Beautiful, keep Tanger Beautiful. She's going to get the award presented Saturday, I think, at a luncheon. Very prestigious award. It's given once a year. Only one award in the whole state is given. Not only E.J. Forgotston won. So
Awesome. That's great.
Thank you. Okay, thank you, sir. All right, are there any new businesses in the audience that'd like to be recognized? Okay, approval of minutes.
Johnny Blunt.
Second.
Johnny Blunt. Jason Hood.
Aye.
Bobby Martin.
Aye.
Lamar Marshall. Mike Williams. Motion approved.
Okay. New business resolutions. Number one, a resolution authorizing Louisiana Center for Theatrical Arts, a nonprofit theater company, to sell alcohol for the Macabre Masquerade Ball as a fundraiser at the Hammond Regional Arts Center located at 217 East Thomas Street, Hammond, Louisiana, October 24th, 2013. Taylor? Taylor, can you come up, give us an address for the record, whatever that may be for you?
Address for the actual event?
For you,
Okay, sure. The address you can use for me would be 309 North Holly Street. It's kind of a floating business. We don't really
That's
have
fine.
a specific...
we just need
place
something
it.
for our record.
Sure, no problem.
Tell us a little bit about the event, please.
Yeah, so the Macabre Masquerade Ball is the first of a three-night festival called the Hammond Horror Festival, and it's an alternative arts festival right around Halloween. And it's a mixed medium of arts events. So we're doing Macabre Masquerade Ball first at the Regional Arts Center, and that event's going to last from 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. And it's going to be slightly in conjunction with the Regional Arts Center. We did it there last year, and we want to do it again there this year as well. So with the events, we're looking for sponsors and donations and such, and we're also going to be selling alcohol to help raise some money. We're teaming up with the American Cancer Society this year, so we definitely want to be able to, make a hefty donation to those guys, and as well, that'll be included with a portion of the ticket prices. So with the alcohol, it's really what we're looking for is just beer and wine.
And the proceeds will go to the American Cancer Society?
A portion, yes. I mean, the festival itself is a fundraising institute for Louisiana Center for Theatrical Arts, which is a nonprofit children's theater company. And then we're also going to make a donation to the Cancer Society as well.
Any other questions?
Motion to approve.
Oh, yes, ma'am. Come on up, please.
My name is Louise Bostick, 112 Elm Drive. I haven't heard of this particular theater arts group. Is there a representative here, or could you explain further who they are?
Yeah, Louisiana.
Are they local?
Yes, we are local. I was living here between 2010 and 2012, and while I was here, I was helping them with acting workshops and doing small-time children's theater productions before I moved over to New Orleans. So I was the artistic director of the theater company. It is owned and operated by Kimberly and Dean Sanders, and they run children's theater workshops and productions between Hammond and Mandeville. And they're slightly on a hiatus right now because of the lack of funds. So we're looking to raise a little bit of money with this event as well. But while I was here, I was conducting workshops over at the First United Methodist Church on the other side of town. We did 2 theater productions over there, and then we were also doing workshops in Mandeville.
Any other questions or comments? Have a motion on the table. Do you have a second?
Second.
Vote please.
Johnny Blunt. Jason Hood.
Aye.
Bobby Martin. Lamar Marshall.
Aye.
Mike Williams. Motion approved.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Number 2, resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into a cooperative endeavor agreement between the military department, the state of Louisiana, and Hammond North Shore Regional Airport. Mr. Ball.
I like this. I feel like I have a bodyguard with me. The military approached the Hammond Airport about entering into an emergency agreement. In time of an emergency, we're always one of the first ones to be contacted about staging vehicles, trailers, or any personnel to respond to any emergencies that they can. The only problem is, and like many of you know, that there's a lot of different groups that want to use the same area, and keeping up with who's who was very difficult. So we had a meeting, and I said, look, we have this group of the Army that wanted to come in and use this. We have this group of the Army that's based here. We have this group of the Air Force that's based here. Let's get everybody in the same room. Let's talk over who's going to use what, and that's where this agreement came from. So also with me, I have Major Trusclair, who's my point of contact for this agreement. He works at the facility right there on the Hammond Airport, so he's a local contact, and like we were talking about before, when something happens at the airport, when some of these guys come in, if something happens, they're out. So now I have a local contact who can always manage everything that's going on, and we can keep up to date on who's using what facilities are needed. So I will answer any questions. Also, Major Trosclair is here to answer any questions also.
Do you have any questions from the council? Do you have any public questions or comments about this item?
I did want to add also too that in the agreement, if you read through it, it does say that it won't be used unless emergency, is declared. And then also, if the airport has a certain time where some of the property needs to be used for any interest by the airport or the city, they will relinquish that property and will change the agreement. So we're not tying up any property. That was one concern that we had from the city.
Okay.
Second.
Johnny Blunt.
Aye.
Jason Hood.
Aye.
Bobby Martin.
Aye.
Lamar Marshall.
Aye.
Mike Williams. Motion approved.
Should bring him more often. Thank you.
Okay, number 3, resolution accepting the municipal water pollution prevention annual report on south wastewater plant required by LADQ on our discharge permit. Mr. Meyer.
Tonight. This is our annual summary report of our wastewater plant, which kind of summarizes the treatment process for the past year. And this is required that we get a resolution and send to DEQ every year, which I bring this to y'all every year to get a resolution.
Mr. Garrett, everything, I hadn't had a chance to look over it yet, everything.
It's about the same as last year. I will say the treatment plant is a challenge, and there's always something new that we have to do down there. So, I mean, it is a challenge, and it continues to be a challenge.
It's good reading. Do we have any motion to approve?
Second.
Johnny Blunt.
Aye.
Jason Hood.
Aye.
Bobby Martin.
Aye.
Lamar Marshall.
Aye.
Mike Williams.
Aye.
Motion approved.
Mr. President, this has nothing to do with this item on the agenda, but I have gotten a lot of calls from people concerning the amoeba, brain
Brain eating amoeba?
Yeah, I've talked to you, but just for the record, I want you to indicate where we are with that, and are our citizens in any way, could they be affected by that?
Dr. Satoon, which is our lab technician, which is a retired chemist Southeast, and we had a long conversation on this, and he did a lot of research. As long as you maintain chlorine residual in your system, you should not have a problem, and it should be killed. We check our chlorine residual daily all throughout the city, 7 days a week. We do maintain a chlorine residual, and we sample our water once monthly and for bacterial, and we're okay there. So at this point, I don't see any problem. And we are going to do some further tests just to be on the safe side. That's a little above and beyond that we're going to get done, but we don't have a problem. I just like to be safe.
I agree. Thank you, Gary.
Thank you, Mr.
Number 4, a resolution to grant a waiver of the City of Hammond Ordinance Number 2323, City Statute, to the veterans of foreign wars and authorize them to sell bloody poppies on the sidewalk at the U.S. Post Office on November 1st and 2nd, 2013, from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. in recognition of the National Prisoners of War and Missing in Action Month. Do we have somebody here representing that?
Motion to approve.
Johnny Blunt.
Aye.
Jason Hood.
Aye.
Bobby Martin. Lamar Marshall. Mike Williams. Motion approved.
Number 5, resolution authorizing the purchase of 72 AEDs from Cardiac Science through the Louisiana State Contract number 408437 for $93,240, with all funds coming from the Rural Access to Emergency Devices Grant Project. Ms. Lamb.
We were excited to find out that we were funded for year 2 in this grant at the same amount that we were funded for last year. This will enable us to purchase 72 more devices. We purchased 72 under year 1, and we've trained around 200 people so far in CPR and AED usage. The AEDs look like that's on the wall over there, and these models are exactly the same as what we purchased through state contract last year. So all the models that we're deploying throughout the parish will all be identical. Everyone's receiving training on the same models, and they'll all have good public access to them. And I just want to acknowledge that grants is a big department of 3 people, and it takes all 3 of us to be able to bring in all these grants consistently.
You do a great job, too. So then you said parish now. This is the parish-wide.
This has actually become a parish-wide project. Originally, it was just on the southern portion of the parish, and all of our partners were down here, but we've expanded because we were funded under year 2 unexpectedly.
So you got a lot of places you can put them.
Yes.
That's not a problem finding places.
Correct.
And schools.
Yes. All of the devices need to be in public locations and out for the public to use. So it wouldn't be necessarily in the back of somebody's office in a business. It would be out in a public space where everyone has access to the device.
Can they go outside, like the park?
Some of them can go. We've already placed 2 at the Hammond Recreational Complex and 2 at the Ponchatoula Recreational Complex. We have an agreement that you all as a council approved in the spring that we offer to each entity accepting a device that formally places them within the state and the federal program for access to defibrillation.
Good job. Motion to approve.
Johnny Blunt. Jason Hood. Bobby Martin. Lamar Marshall. Mike Williams. Motion approved.
Final adoption of ordinance. Number 1, final adoption of an ordinance for the council to declare surplus items below to be sold from govdeals.com. List attached. Motion from Mr. Thornton. Second.
Johnny Blunt. Jason Hood. Bobby Martin. Lamar Marshall. Mike Williams. Motion approved.
Number 2, final adoption of an ordinance authorizing the issuance of not exceeding $5 million of sewer revenue bonds, Series 2013, of the City of Hammond, State of Louisiana, and providing for other matters in connection therewith.
So moved.
Second.
Johnny Blunt. Jason Hood. Bobby Martin. Lamar Marshall. Mike Williams. Motion approved.
Introduction of ordinance and set public hearing. Number 1, introduction of an ordinance for final approval request for Garden District subdivision lots 1 through 38 and G1, acceptance of dedication of Octavia Street and Ferret Street, 60-foot right-of-ways of all public utilities, 10-foot utility servitudes along said right-of-ways and 15-foot sewer servitude in accordance with revised plat by William J. Bowden Jr. 2013-8-2, recommended approval by the Planning Commission. Mr. Taylor.
Dedicating servitudes, dedicating right-of-ways. It was approved by resolution, never came back as ordinance. So Circle G still owns it, and they'd like to dedicate it to the city with the improvements.
Motion to introduce.
Second.
Johnny Blunt.
Aye.
Jason Hood.
Aye.
Bobby Martin.
Aye.
Lamar Marshall.
Aye.
Mike Williams.
Aye.
Motion approved. Public hearing is set for October 1st, 2013.
Number 2, introduction of an ordinance to amend ordinance number 12-5319 to extend the date of the required completion of construction of the permanent cul-de-sac at the end of Dr. John Lambert Drive in Providence Ridge subdivision, Phase 2, 2008-8-2, recommended approved to extend for 1 year by the Planning Commission.
Simply want to extend their letter of credit to no activities taking place out there. Nothing's moving, so until they get some activity out there, they'd like to extend their letter of credit.
Motion to introduce.
Second.
Johnny Blunt.
Aye.
Jason Hood.
Aye.
Bobby Martin.
Aye.
Lamar Marshall. Mike Williams.
Aye.
Motion approved. Public hearing is set for October 1st, 2013.
Okay. Number 3, introduction of an ordinance to approve an expanded conditional use request by Lloyd A. Carlton to allow placement of a mobile home meeting all code requirements on 213 Green Street, Zone R4, ECU 2013-8-1, recommend denial by the zoning commission.
They recommended to deny. It's not in a proposed mobile home park area, and there were some landlocked issues that they would like to see solved. So.
Josh, I'm looking at if Mr. Carlton can fulfill these recommendations. Would that be acceptable for you? We have to take this.
I think it would, but I can't speak for the Planning Commission, so.
Okay.
So I mean, I'm just presenting what they recommended.
Right. I suggest if we can table this until give Mr. Carter an opportunity to correct any deficiencies.
It's just to introduce it for public hearing.
Okay. All right.
You can table it, if you needed to, you can table the approval.
Yeah, after public hearing, you could take it.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Do we have a motion to introduce this item?
Second.
Johnny Blunt. Jason Hood. Bobby Martin. Lamar Marshall. Mike Williams. Motion approved. Public hearing is set for October 1st, 2013.
Number 4, introduction of an ordinance to approve an expanded conditional use request by Jenny E. Rayna, occupant applicant, and Jimmy Wynn, owner, to allow consumption of alcohol in Giovanni's Food Mart LLC in a B2 and C2 district located at 605 Pecan Street, ECU 2013-8-2, recommended denial by the zoning commission.
In B2, you can sell packaged alcohol. You cannot serve alcohol, and basically wanted to expand on the B2 zoning and allow alcohol to be served in the restaurant. So, Planning Commission had concerns with it being surrounded so heavily by residential every direction you go. So, it was recommended to deny.
Motion to introduce.
This is only for introduction.
Johnny Blunt. Jason Hood. Bobby Martin. Lamar Marshall. Mike Williams. Motion approved. Public hearing is set for October 1st, 2013.
Okay. Number 5, introduction of an ordinance of approval of rezoning requests by Lloyd Angren did I say that right? Angeron, I'm sorry. And Laura E. Sanfilippo et al. To rezone the most easterly portion of Lot 6, 7, and 8, Block 3 of the Oak Ridge Addition, approximately 300 feet plus or minus from R4 to C3, located at 923, 925, and 927 South Morrison Boulevard, RZ 2013-8-1, failure of a majority vote by the zoning commission.
It didn't get the 3 votes required to pass it, so it failed. It probably should have been recommended denial. Andre, you could help me out on that one.
Well, it's 2-2, I guess, there's no recommendation.
Right, so. That's it.
I have a question for you,
Yep.
Judge. There was a comment at the hearing about one of the residents that lived on, I forgot the name of the street, but his concern was that he had pot. I don't think it was on Mississippi. It was Lovett. And I think that his property went across Lovett Street. Did you guys ever follow up on that?
Yeah, we have zero record of that.
Zero record of that?
From tax records to subdivision records, we have zero record of that.
I'm just curious, because I know that was one of the issues that was on.
We looked into it.
Okay.
Back to the original subdivision. We went all the way to the original subdivision. It still is exactly like it is.
We're just introducing it today, so there's no.
Just introduction. Next time the public is to speak. She's going to tell us.
Johnny Blunt.
Aye.
Jason Hood.
Aye.
Bobby Martin. Lamar Marshall.
Aye.
Mike Williams. Motion approved. Public hearing is set for October 1st, 2013.
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor? Aye.